All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you again so much for joining us for one of our site director chats. I am here today with Phil. He is our site director down in Appleton, Wisconsin. He is a girl dad as well and has had his girls involved in the program, so he's got a really awesome, unique perspective. So, hi, Phil. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Kylie. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. So just to get started, I'd love to hear a little bit more about you, who you are as a dad and a professional, and then how you became involved as a leader for BioGirls.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm super passionate about BioGirls. Love the program, but the funny thing is, my wife and I, as we were growing our family and raising girls, we didn't really know much about BioGirls because our girls were still pretty young. We lived in Fargo for 20 years. And working for WEX, still work for WEX today, but during COVID, we moved away to Appleton, where we have a lot of family out here. So when I was in Fargo, a lot of the women from WEX were participating in BioGirls, and so we would get a lot of emails that would say, "Hey, come volunteer for our 5K." And the funny thing is largely we were busy raising infants and toddlers at that time, so we didn't have a ton of extra time for extracurricular volunteer activities. So I largely dismissed it, and the title until you know it and love it and it's a part of you. I was like, well, I don't know what this science program is for girls, so I'm just gonna, not my thing right now. And the funny thing is, like, after I moved to Appleton, our girls got a little older. I just clicked on the email, I clicked on the website, and I was like, oh my gosh, like we have to do this. Like our girls absolutely need this. And I started reading everything about the website and the program, and I'm like, okay, well, we really need to do this, but is it weird if a guy does this? So, and my good friend Michelle Larson is friends with Missy, and so I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, like, what do you?" She's like, "Well, all you can do is ask." So I asked, and sure enough, they're like, your team, you were my first coordinator for our first site, and so we have a fun history together. But once we found out that we could do it, the first thing I did is talk to my wife, and I'm like, hey, this is going to be a healthy time investment. But I really think that we need to do it. Lucy is, that was the year she was in second grade. And like, if we start it now, then Lucy can go through the whole thing. Sally can start. So this is Sally's first year. We're in year 3 now. This is Sally's first year. So, I got 100% buy-in from my wife. She's like, yep, let's do it. Um, but I think that one of the neatest things was when I started talking about the program here in Appleton. Um, so I asked, so I have obviously, so we have a big site, so I have 10 mentors and then one, um, marketing lead. So of the 11 positions that I needed to fill, I asked 12 people. So I literally only got one no.
Nice.
The next year I had like 6 people lined up to backfill. A couple ladies had babies, and so we did a little turnover there. But by year 3, I had 100% of my mentors coming back. So it's like just building from like being passionate about something and interested and curious to now having it be this cool community and expanding. It's just I just love the BioGirls program, and it has been such a blessing to our family, and our community. So really cool to be a part of.
Okay. Well, and we love having you as a part of it. We have such a great um, connection with girl dads who just have their girls in the program, but then to take it one step further and have one of those dads leading is just something like really, really special.
Yeah.
So, kind of being in both of those roles, what impact have you seen both in the girls you've led and then your girls at home.
Yeah. One of the main things about us and our family is that, our Christian faith is foundational to literally everything we do. Our girls go to Christian school, we go to church regularly. It's a part of who we are as people. And the beauty of Bio Girls is that it really gives us a platform to be able to lean on in a Christian way to say, look, I have direct context because I'm leading the large group lesson. I know what your mantras are. Like, this does not align with what Jesus says, and this does not align with what we learned in Bio Girls. And so it's a really helpful tool for correction. But also, alternatively, it's really something to be celebrated. Like, hey, like you did that, and that's exactly what we learned in Bio Girls. I actually saw one of Sally's worksheets that she brought home 2 weeks ago. And we were just talking about the service project. And one of the questions on the worksheet is, what do you, what have you done to help somebody? And Sally wrote down, I defended my friend RJ, who's a little boy that in her class that I know my sister is both a mentor and my daughter's second grade teacher. So
Nice.
we have a great Bio Girls community.
Yeah.
But, my sister has told me that RJ has had challenges making friends and so Julie, knowing, our Christian values and BioGrows principles, is building into her because she knows that Sally is a very outgoing girl and says, hey, RJ is having trouble making friends. And in some cases, she helps guide her down that path.
Mhm.
And in other cases, it's beautiful to see maybe some forward thinking and proactivity to be, hey, I learned this in school. I learned it in Sunday school. I learned it at church. But I also learned it in Bio Girls. And so I'm proactively seeking opportunities to have positive and in some cases eternal impact on other people in my life. And it's like, and then you get to see that firsthand and you get to celebrate it. We actually started something that I absolutely love. But before we start every session, we'll do devotion first, always, right? We go off to a separate section and just sit down and make it really just closer as a full group, right? Instead of spread out on all our tables. So come together in the word. Um, and then we go back to our tables. And before we start the big lesson, we call it Bio Girls in the World. So like, what are 3, 4, 5 examples of like what are you doing in every single week? We have 40 hands, 40 hands. Like they want to showcase what they're doing and challenging them to like go out there and proactively be that positive light in the world. And I would just say too, I can't tell you how many parents come up and just say, I thank you so much for putting this program on. And like it has had such a positive impact on my daughter. You always expect, I think I've talked to you about this before, but like you always expect with 40 families that at some point over the course of 3 years, you're probably going to get someone to show up and be like, hey, this was really good, but I really wish it could be this, or this would be your even better if. In 3 years, I have not gotten one piece of constructive feedback, negative feedback,
Yeah.
anything. Everyone is only singing the praises of the program, and more than anything, we get stories of, hey, my daughter was being bullied, and this empowered her to stand up for herself, or my daughter would never be comfortable doing something like this, and now she can't wait to get to Bio Girls. It just those stories just pile up every single year, and I absolutely love it.
That's so awesome. And I think you bring up such good points too, because a lot of times on the surface, just like you went through, Bio Girls is brand new to somebody. They're not sure what it's about. And
Yeah.
oftentimes people see it first STEM, that does come up, and
Yeah.
then they see it, oh, that's a running program. And while
Sure.
we do include the running and the physical activities, we do see the lessons part of it have so much more of an impact.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we're gonna go for a run, but watch how your girl does start to stand up for her friends. Watch how she can foster new relationships. Watch how she can handle anxieties. And then, whether Bio Girls is their only exposure to that, or they're like your girls who have those lessons reinforced in different ways, like it all makes an impact. So I love to hear that that's been your
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. It's been great.
Good. Now, of course, you have your girls in the program, and I know we've talked about how you and your wife have kind of come together to do these things. I'd love to know what other relationships you've built or strengthened through Bio Girls.
Yeah. So I'm really fortunate in when we got started having my oldest daughter Lucy of the age that was in the program because we had already developed through their friendships. We've developed friendships with their parents that are like-minded to us and we've become really good friends. And so when I started making asks for who were going to be the mentors, it actually, it seems daunting on the front end, but if you act strategically and ask like-minded people who it's like I think they're going to say yes, right? And so it really was I had 11 spots to fill, including the marketing director. I only had to ask 12 people. Everyone else just said yes, I'm 100% in. And the one person who said no, um, filled an open position the second year, right?
Nice.
And then the third year, we had 100% of the mentors from 25 come over to 26. So the neat thing is I had familiarity and friendship with all of these women prior, right? Like I knew one of them's my sister, like I said. Several of them are my daughter's, the friends of my daughter, their parents, right? But some of them I didn't really know that well. They just um presented themselves in our church community and in the school community as people who were just like they just stood out.
Mhm.
They were just lights in the world. Like a woman named Bria. Um, she walks into a room or comes into church and it's always just like massive smile, nice to see you, like one of those people that just makes you happy to be around, right?
Yep.
And everyone in now the Bio Girls mentor community, everyone feels that way and we all build each other up. And now what we're friendships through our kids are now like meaningful relationships that we band together. We're honest with each other. Like there are days when the day kind of stunk, and it's like, okay, well now I gotta put on my big boy pants and go to Bio Girls and tell
Yep.
people why they should be confident and happy. It's like, and I don't really have my bucket filled, and I can't tell you the number of times where I'm just absolutely out of gas, and it's like, all right, well, I committed to this. It's time to go, right? Like I'm not gonna not go. So you go and then you just see these girls and they just run up to you and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, can we do Bio Girls every single day? I love it so much." And then you talk about this lesson, um, and you just see the relationships grow with the girls between themselves and with their mentors. Rachel is my marketing lead and she's awesome. She's like I'm like the really passionate, like loud talker guy, but she's like the quiet type organizer, planner. So she always keeps me in check. So we're a very good team in that
Yes.
regard. Um, but we also have a camera from church. So we have like a really nice, like great camera that we take for pictures when we put them on Facebook. So, and one of the things I love is like she'll really zoom in on like from a distance so that it's genuine, like zoom in and get four girls around a confident, loving Christian woman, just completely engaged, right? Building a relationship with each other around conversations that are truthful and vulnerable. And you see these develop over time, and it's absolutely awesome.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And as far as the impact specifically on the girls, I know you and I have talked about this too. Tell us a little bit more about what you see from the girls in session, and then, like you were saying, when you see them around town or at church, how do you see that difference being made?
Yeah. One of the biggest things is kind of that dynamic shift, right? Now in year three, you have a lot of girls who are super confident. They come in, they're like, I've got this. I'm a Bio Girls veteran, right? So like I love to see that, but it wasn't always so. One example this year was we have a second grader. She's from a different school. So as you can imagine, so we're at Emmanuel in Greenville. 42% of the girls are from Emmanuel, right? Like we're right there. A lot of the people live relatively close, but I'm pleased that it's not over 50%, right? That means we have, 58% of the girls are from different schools, and some go to public school and some go to Christian schools in a neighboring town, kind of like, West Fargo to Fargo, similar geography. So this girl was not part of like didn't know anybody,
Sure.
basically, right? And so she comes in and she's crying and she's standing by the door, and I'm sure they see this all the time in Bio Girls for the new girls. But she didn't have a community yet, right? And so she was scared. She clung to mom and she was crying. She wouldn't sit down. And so mom just came down and sat with her. And I just went over and, like gently touched mom on the shoulder and just whispered to her, I'm like, just stay. We just want her here. Just stay. She will love this eventually. Like, let's just give her the space and the comfort to be able to. Now she like dresses up every time. She wears like a rainbow skirt and like bright colors, and she wears like kitty ears, headband,
Oh my
and is like
gosh.
one and like a shine and answers tons of questions and like just a shining star in the program. But it came from, her mom told me, she's like, she really has trouble starting new things. I think this will be really good for her. I'm like, she's in the exact right place where she needs to be. And there are just so many iterations of that. I would say, so my sister, Julie, she's one of the most amazing people I know. She teaches second grade, but when we asked and have like our pre-session meetings, this is like 3 years ago, like anyone have a preference? Anybody want to do a specific, like as we are putting all the groups together and assigning a mentor to a group, like anybody want to do something specific? Like, do you want a specific grade? Because there's no real rhyme or reason to it. We just kind of place and make sure moms aren't with daughters. And other than that, we kind of just do what we think is best. And so Julie being in the younger grades, um, I asked her, I was like, well, do you want to work with the older girls? And she was a little hesitant, right? And she's like, well, I don't really, I haven't really worked with them regularly. I'm almost always with the little kids. I'm like, well, would you be okay if I challenged you to like maybe get outside of your comfort zone a little bit and work with the older girls? And the interesting thing about, a sixth grader coming to the program for the first time, like it's almost harder for that girl to open up and share. And when she doesn't have experience in the program, she doesn't maybe have a ton of friends because we're very highly concentrated in fourth grade and under, right?
Yeah.
Until we get year after year, all those girls come all the way through the program. But just seeing like these closed off, couple really shy girls, couple girls who are just kind of like meh,
Mhm.
and then just see them, like the first year, the group of like four girls that Julie had, um, they would always just dink around when it was time to run, and they would just be like, walk in, or they would go off the track and just, and then it came race day and they busted their tails. Like they were just like they just got after it, and they were like, one of the first groups to finish. And it's like, okay, like we made an impact, and then they got their medals, and then they're showing it to their parents and they're so proud. Just that dynamic arc of how much girls change for in a positive way throughout that, from the smallest, shyest girl to the oldest, most closed off. I can't think of one example where girls stayed exactly the same
Mhm.
throughout the entire program. So, and it's beautiful to be witness to as the leader, to get to step away and watch those relationships develop.
I totally agree. And I know we could pull 100 examples of that, but I'm
Yeah.
so glad you brought up the one about seeing how the your sister as a mentor positively impacts the girls. I'm leading my running site right now, and we have a girl who it was kind of tough. I think she's a fourth or fifth grader. It was tough to get her engaged at first, and she was a little closed off. And on our runs, she would just walk really slowly, um, kind of had the didn't want to be there,
Yeah.
vibe about her. But
Yeah.
I've noticed lately that she still walks, which is completely fine. We welcome that if that's
Of
what girls
course.
are feeling. But I've noticed she starts asking every time who's going to be the caboose, who's going to be that person in the back, because she
Sure.
loves to have that opportunity to connect with that person
There you
and
go.
be doing that movement together.
Yeah.
And also going back to your sister, you brought up the fact that taking sixth graders was a challenge for her.
Mhm.
And I think it's a really good example of how this, of course, for some girls, it's really scary to go into this. It's brand new for them. But also for us as volunteers, it's really new too. And
Mhm.
we probably have some hesitations about it and like, oh my gosh, am I the right person to do this? Is it
Yeah.
going to be okay? And that's just a great example of like we tell the girls they can do hard things and so can we. So
Exactly.
it's something new to try and like give our all to.
Yep, yep. It's no different for us. I think it's that is really well said, because we talk consistently as, as mentors and leaders together, like how good this is for us, and like how beneficial it would have been with all of the crap that all of the mentors went through when they were young, right?
Mhm.
Like how cool is this? And in our community, a lot of these Christian schools feed into a larger Christian high school. And
Okay.
so not 100% of the kids go, some of them will go to public school around and all that. It's wonderful. But like a lot of these girls are going to be together with each other until they go to college,
Yep.
right? So if we can give them this foundation of this is how you act, this is why you act that way, and we do it all centered around, Christ as our example and leader, um, we have a distinct advantage to genuinely change the trajectory of what otherwise might be a very challenging adolescence and teenage years. And like all these girls now, like, oh, hey, I remember you from when we were in Bio Girls, when we were in sixth grade, and now here we are in high school, we're going to fall back on and default to I should act in a positive way as opposed to tear people down and do all the social media garbage that kids do these days. And that's the base that I'm really, praying for and goaling this program for, is to give them a really good, strong base to serve and love each other as they continue to grow, because they're going to be together for a really long time.
Absolutely. And I think too, with you saying that, I and many people have grown up in these teeny little Midwestern towns
Sure.
where you're with the same people for 14 years, preschool to
Right.
graduation.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it is so valuable. Like we always say, I wish I had had this when I was that age because you can look back and you can identify, like, yep, I probably wasn't my best self at those moments, or we
Yep.
did not have the healthiest interactions or relationships. And
Yeah.
so That's such a great point with those girls who will be together that entire time. It's such a good foundation to set for them.
Yep, absolutely it is.
Yeah. So when you're kind of like looking at bio girls on the surface from the get-go, it can seem like a really big time commitment. So I would like to know, number one, how you felt supported through that time commitment, and why is the program worth that time?
Yeah. Um, I would say without a doubt, like when you look at bio girls on the front end, um, make sure that you have a really good conversation with your family. You know, that was my first step is to talk to Jesse and just say, hey, I would like to do this. Do you think this is feasible for us in our life right now? This is going to be a time commitment. However, it's something that builds into us as a family. So it's not just me raising my hand and saying, "Hey, I'm going to step away from my family responsibilities and my, relationship and commitment to you all so that I can go do something that fills my bucket." It's like, no, this is something that we can do together for our family. And my wife, participates and volunteers in every way that she can too, right? To be a part of Bio Girls and help support me in the build up. She's waiting for one of these amazing mentors to say that they want to step away so that she could step in and be a mentor herself.
Yeah.
We'll likely get there over the next few years, but good problem to have, no doubt, no doubt. But make it a family decision, right? That when everyone is bought into something that helps support, whether it's your girls specifically, or helps girls that are in our community, make it a family decision that makes it a heck of a lot easier so that you're not butting heads about something that has inherent massive positive outcomes. And then secondly, it, all it really is time, right? And I know that we don't all have an abundance of it. But when you're thinking about weighing what you say yes and what you say no to, um, perfect example of the lesson that we did during our service project is, the first things that it talks about is when we go through our devotion is like, first of all, God has called us to do this. Number two, guess what? You get as much benefit out of this as the people that you're serving, right?
Yes.
And so yes, it's time, but my recommendation to people who are on the fence is first of all, make sure that it's feasible and that you can build into this program with all your heart. And if now's not the right time, that's okay, right? But keep it. Don't forget about it. Come back to it and say, I'm going to build into my next year the ability to be able to volunteer and do this. But lastly, it's like everything is done for me,
Mhm.
right? Like, yeah, I have to recruit some people. Yeah, I got to raise some money. That's fine. I grew up in sales my whole life, so it might be a little bit easier for me. But when you have something that you're passionate about and care about, it's easy to ask people to help support it because I have I have gotten so few no's to literally anything that I've asked for in relation to bio girls because everyone's like, yep, that's beneficial. I asked my pastor if I could have the space and if I could run it in Emmanuel. He's like, 100% what day? I asked our church for money. I asked friends for money. They're like, 100%. How much do you need? Right?
Yeah.
I asked mentors to do it. They're like, absolutely. This is a great cause. This is absolutely something that I can budget my time for. But once you get all that done, like literally Bio Girls does everything for me, right? Like all I have to do is show up. I get a giant tote of materials that I leave at church. And now the girls are even running and getting all the bags and putting them on tables and putting them where they want them to be.
Yeah.
And all the materials are there. All I got to do, you know, is prep for 30 minutes to make sure I'm prepared to deliver a good message, and make sure that everything is set up. But when you get done doing all that stuff, like your bucket is so incredibly full because these girls, after going to school all day, they show up with a ton of energy and excitement.
Yeah.
they plead with you um, to let us do Bio Girls every single day. Their little brothers come and pick them up and ask when you're going to do Bio Boys, right? Like
Yes.
like everyone wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so I would say, if you're on the fence, take the leap. Um, Make it a good family decision. You absolutely won't regret that decision.
I agree with that. And I know I can say that I agree with that as somebody who's worked for
Right,
Bio Girls for 4 years, but
right.
I try as much as I can to look at it, putting on my volunteer hat. This is my
Yeah,
fifth time at a
yeah,
site, and I completely agree with you. Like, there's just no better feeling than leaving every week and just feeling so uplifted
yeah,
by the girls you've served.
yeah, absolutely. Every time.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about, in terms of support, working with your volunteer manager. What does that look like, and kind of how did they help you through the process?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a great sense of accountability. As I said before, like my marketing lead is really good at the tasks and making sure that we stay on task. So, very similar relationship, right? Like, hey, we're reaching a deadline. Hey, make sure you get this in. Let's have a call so that I would say without question, um, the first year when you and I were working together, I had a ton of questions, and I was like, how does this go? How am I supposed to do this? Like, you were so available. I love your Calendly links, right? So like, hey, if you need to book a meeting with me, just go to my link and put time on and we could talk, right? I think we did that several times the first year just because there were a lot of questions that I had because I wanted to do it well and do it right. Um, and then over time you get the cadence down. You figure out what you need to do at specific times. But even this year, as a volunteer site director, life gets in the way,
Yes.
my partnership with Bio Girls, I was getting emails like, hey, don't forget to do this. I'm like, thank you very much for the reminder. I needed that. I don't view it as like you're coming after me and like, hey, you got to get this done. It's like, no, like this is good partnership because we all have jobs, we all have families, we all have activities and other things that we volunteer for and everything. So I love the partnership that exists between me and my leads at Bio Girls. Um, I also know Emily, so we're good friends, and so it's like it's just nice. Like first year is a lot of learning. Second year we got it down. Third year now I feel part of like the Bio Girls community. Like going to the gala last year and just like seeing all of you and being able to give you hugs and say hi, and
Yeah.
it feels really good, the level of impact that we're having. I have always felt really really well supported by the Bio Girls team on several levels.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. And I don't often apply the word partnership to, that interaction, but I think that's such a perfect way to put it. Like,
Yeah,
you as site directors are there bringing the mission to life, partnering with us, and in turn, we're doing our best to support you to help you
yeah,
make that make that your own and your own way of doing it. So I am absolutely going to put that term in my toolbox
yeah.
now.
Glad I could help.
Yeah. And I think it's so great too. We have you in Appleton and others in Wisconsin and Iowa and Minnesota and all over the place. And the one-on-one calls might sometimes be the only interactions we get. So
Mhm.
we do try our best to make those as available as possible. And then on
Yeah,
those rare occasions where we do get to see each other in person, it truly is just like seeing an old friend. You're
yeah,
like, I don't know if I've ever physically been by you,
yeah.
but like
Right. No,
now
we
that we
ran into
are,
each other at Mezzaluna, remember? And
yes,
you came up
yes,
and said hi. I'm like, oh, like, and we're like buddies. Like, oh my gosh, good to
yes. And
meet you in
so,
person. Like, thank you for all your help.
yes. And so it's like, exactly when you do see those folks in person, when we get to see you site directors,
Yeah,
it's like we do know you. We're friends, we get to work together. And I think that's
yeah,
such an awesome connection that we get to have and something that's pretty rare.
yeah. Yep. I completely agree. And just being in that community, it just seems like your organization hires well too, right? Because I've worked with several different people in different capacities throughout my experience with BioGirls, and literally everyone that I get to interact with embodies the same joy in their work and the mission of BioGirls. Everyone's passionate, from when I was going through training to, when I work with any individual through the year-to-year process. It just seems like you guys all have a ton of passion for what you do, and it shines through in your actions.
I'm glad to hear that. And joy definitely is, even around the office, that is one of our tenets. We're like, this is going to be joyful. So thank you
Cool.
for mentioning that.
Yeah, of course.
So I know we don't like to think about this, but if for some reason BioGirls did not exist in your community, what do you think would be most missed about it?
Yeah. Um, I I think a lot of people in this part of the country who I've been involved with in BioGirls would be really sad if it went away. The just the level of community and genuine care that it allows for, you get to meet a ton of different people, right? And I, being an extreme extrovert, I love that, right? But even more, just being able to connect with people around something so positive, is just such a joy for me personally. The community itself and the girls that participate, if for some reason Bio Girls went away, they would be devastated, because they feel the same way. They love, whether they say it out loud or not, right? They love, by definition, joyful, positive Christian community, right? And they're just viewing it as, an opportunity for them to make new friends, to engage with adults that aren't mom and dad, right? And to do something that's meaningful and better themselves. But what I think happens for them is that they just slowly but surely grow into, young ladies that are more confident and do, like, they don't put a label on it, but they're like, I feel so much better about myself.
Yeah.
I feel so much more confident in my ability to be able to handle hard situations, because I do have, we talk about, putting to all the mantras are all the lessons, our tools that we put in our tool belt, right? Like, what tool are we putting in our tool belt today that when you go out into the world, you're like, oh, I can handle that. I'll just pull out this tool and
Yeah.
and so we try to build it in with sticky things in their brains that are like, hey, I pull out that tool that I learned because I had an honest conversation with this woman that I've never met before, but who now I love and trust and respect. Um, they would very much miss virtually every aspect of BioGirls, but mostly the Christian community and growth that it brings.
Yes, I agree. And like I said, hopefully that's never a concern that we have, but
I'm not. We'll just keep doing it on our own.
yeah.
If for some reason it goes away, I can't imagine that it would because of the level of growth we've seen. But we'll keep going no
We'll
matter
just
what.
keep going. No problem. Yes. So somebody has gotten to the end of this video. They've watched us gab. They've gotten all the information. If they are still on the fence about becoming a leader at this point, what would you say to encourage them?
Yeah. I volunteer a lot. But that wasn't always the case for me. I used to travel a ton for work. I used to, our girls are 8 and 10 now, but they used to be, you know, 1 and 3, and that was hard and that
Yeah.
was tough, right? And that may not have been the right time for us, but now is. Um, there's never really a good time to take time out of your calendar for most things, right? Um, you can always find a reason to say no. There are so many priorities and obligations that we have in our lives. There's never going to be a perfect time, so just do it. And that to me, when you genuinely make it a family decision and you take that leap, what I can say in my experience is that, I didn't feel like I had a ton of extra time to be able to do this. Um, People ask us, how do we make the time for it? And it actually, I kind of laugh on the inside. It's like, well, I don't have to make time. I take my whole family with me, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not a separation thing. And I get sports are in there and everything, but um when you prioritize the most important things in this life, um, they have a tendency to pay off significantly greater than the other things that maybe don't add near as much value. So I would encourage you to take the leap. Just do it, and the benefit that you gain from it far outweighs the time that you have to say no to something else.
That's very well said. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, that's all I have for us today. Thank you again, Phil, for being here. Thank you for your 3 seasons and all the work you do in between them to make BioGirls such a success in your area and to just build it up and build your girls up all the
Oh,
time. Thank you so much.
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You bet.